Welcome back to the Hero's Journey podcast. I'm your host, Nick. We're on episode 42. I'm going to give you a little insight. I love the number 42 because it reminds me of one of my favorite books, which is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. For those who haven't read it, if you're not familiar, 42 is the answer to life, the universe, and everything. And of course, in the book, we're trying to figure out what is the question. So you get the answer. What is the question, right? So good times. I remember reading that book when I was in high school. It was on a approved reading list that we were given. And it was the first time I can say that I enjoyed reading a novel. And I got into reading through comic books. So I guess this was the first novel that I'd read, the first book without a lot of pictures in it that I really enjoyed. And I only had to read the first one for the book report I was working on or whatever. Ended up reading the whole series, so really enjoyed it. And now I still read a lot of books without picture books to this day. So maybe that book got me started on my journey. Okay, so here's Journey Podcast, working on comics from the Golden Age. We were left off. We're looking at comics from September of 1944. We are still on looking at comics from September of 1944. So let's bring up the comics and see where we're at. First up, we have Hit Comics number 33. This is the autumn issue. So I put down as September 1944 from Quality. It's an okay cover. I find Kid Eternity's head doesn't look quite right on his shoulders, like it's sort of floating. So maybe a bit of a perspective kind of issue there from my point of view. All right, in the story, Kid Eternity and Mr. Keeper help a couple keep their oil field after some gangsters try to lay a false claim to it. And in that story, Kid Eternity calls upon Samson, Flying Murphy, which I want to say was a boxer, George Washington, Tom Hyer, and Mercury. So all make appearances in that issue. And in the next story, Her Highness and Silk help a crook on the run hide out in their ballet school. So the last sale that I could find for this book, which was actually the only sale, was a 5.0 that sold in October of 2018. And it sold through Comic Link. And when I went to look on the sale, there was actually no data. So I don't know what it sold for. I don't imagine it's a huge sum necessarily, but I actually do not have that data. And there are only 2 CGC graded books for this issue on the census. Moving along. We have the Human Torch number 16 is from Timely Fall 1944. You got another Alex Schomburg cover. So sure enough, you got Toro there blasting through a building. You have to. It's his signature. Yeah. Guns being fired, fireballs being thrown, it looks like. Oil on fire. Oh, it's such a mess. Lots of fun action on the cover there. The Human Torch and Toro head to Japan to stop a Japanese naval invasion by touching off a volcano to destroy the fleet. Human Torch and Toro are then in England to investigate how the Nazis are learning of the British plans to attack by air ahead of time. They were sneaky Nazis. And then the Human Torch and Toro are called to a bank robbery and discover that it was set up by the bank's president. And finally, Submariners caught by a crook capturing slaves for the Japanese military. All in that one issue. So for this issue, you have a recent CGC 7.5 sale from December of 2020 for $1,957. So a couple interesting things from this issue. In this panel, this is when one of the stories, Human Torch and Toro hanging out in their New York apartment, right? Clearly says that in the on the top. Looks like they're playing some checkers and the phone's ringing and Torch is reaching for it. I thought this panel was interesting because for some reason they made Torch look like a hunchback. So I don't know. That really kind of stood out for me. It looked kind of funny. It looked like he's, I don't know, 80 years old, reaching for the phone. Why not? All right, and this is the one where this is from the story we're talking about Torch and Toro touching off that volcano. And by touching off, it's they drilled down to where the lava was and magma and set it off. And then it all lava came crashing down and destroyed the fleet that was in the water nearby. I just thought it was an interesting panel. Nothing, I'm not criticizing this. I like it. And this is from the Submariner story. I just thought the sort of figure eight type panel layout in the middle I just thought it was really interesting. It's an interesting way to do the panels. They actually ended up using that same layout for a couple pages in the issue. I just thought it was really neat. It's creative, different. Points for that. Next up, Kid Comics number 6. It's from Timely. It's 1944 issue. I couldn't find what part of the year it's from, so it looks like it might have been released or been a September type of cover issue. I don't know. So look, it got slotted in with the September books. This is also an Alex Schomburg cover. So Toro on the cover, smashing through some type of building. Like an outpost of some sort. The young allies are touring Little Tokyo and San Francisco when they're kidnapped by Japanese spies using underground tunnels. So fun. I mean, it is a fun cover. You got lots of shooting going on, people getting killed, explosions, tanks, military. Guy holding big barrel of TNT. Sure, why not? So for this issue, you had a recent CGC 6.5 sale from December of 2019 for $576. Next up, Leading Comics number 12. This is the fall issue from 1944. Just as a little aside, this is getting towards the end of this series. There's not a lot of issues left in the series. So this is the 7 Soldiers of Victory are featured in this issue. Some of them are on the cover there. So we have our usual suspects. The team roster hasn't changed. It's Green Arrow, Speedy, Star Spangled Kid, Stripe Seed, Vigilante, Shining Knight, Crimson Avenger, and the 8th, I want to say honorary member is Wing. Anyway, they're lured into a contest under false pretenses to find hidden treasures, but it works out in the end as they catch some crooks and get $1 million for the charity of their choice. So a crook lured them in, pretending to be a rich guy who was going to donate money to their charity, to the charity of their choice, I guess. And it turns out he was trying to get them to steal things that were valuable. So it was really getting them to pull off heists. So it was a crook getting the 7 Soldiers of Victory to pull off heists for him because he had taken the place of an actual rich guy. Anyway, so 7 Soldiers of Victory, steal all the stuff, figure it out, rescue the rich guy. Rich guy still ends up donating $1 million to their charity. And geez, $1 million, even by today's standards, is a good chunk of money to go to any kind of charity. So I can just imagine 1940s what that kind of sum would look like. We have recent CGC 5.0 sale from March of 2021 for $225. So in this issue, look, I showed the whole page here just to give you an idea of what the art looked like in this book. It's nothing, it's not the worst, not the best. Interesting art, why not? I just wanted to highlight the very glaring typo on this page. So in the middle panels on the left, so where Crimson Avenger is speaking one of his last words, it says, "If you knew how valuable its contents were," right? But if you look at it closely, it says content. I just thought that was, the editor clearly missed that. Few people, that got by a few people, and it's pretty glaring. I mean, look, there's typos in all these things. people's names are wrong, misspelled, fine. But this is like an extra syllable and a word, and they're right beside each other. Like it's glaring. This one's glaring. So that's why it's here. Okay, Marvel Comics number 58, timely, September 1944. Guess what? Alex Schomburg cover. Guess what? Big book of the week. Now, this is the first 52-page issue that's down from 60. Torch and Toro blasting through some solid objects as usual. You got some fireballs being thrown, bullets. You got a torture machine. Got a big guy turning the crank. It's a lot going on here for sure. Human Torch and Toro stop Nazis from stealing a new formula for explosives and from destroying a chemical plant. Submariner's plane crashes on a remote island, and he convinces the resident cannibals to take up arms against the invading Japanese forces. Miss America uncovers a racket to kill off husbands so wives can collect the insurance money. And the Black Widow was the one to orchestrate all of this. He was a man disguised as a woman. So, yep, some wives that were scorned, I guess, very unhappy with their husbands, hired this Black Widow, man dressed as a woman type hitman, to off their husbands so they could collect on the insurance. It's quite the racket. The Patriot goes to the Statue of Liberty. The Patriot goes to the Statue of Liberty to save Mary from an escaped killer Nazi. The Angel is the target of a Nazi assassin, but he fakes his death to flush out the group of spies. Yeah, this issue, big book of the week, right? So you have a recent CGC 4.0 sale from January 2021 for $1,250. It's a big chunk for a 4.0, but Marvel Mystery Comics with the Alex Schomburg covers do tend to command a fair premium. Now, okay, this issue, not the greatest scan of this page, but it is what it is. Sometimes it's not luck. Sometimes these scans aren't the most pleasant to read, but it is what it is. You got to read them. I got to get through them. So I suffer for the art, right? I just wanted to show that Torch and Toro got locked into an asbestos-lined box. Now, and in these comics, the asbestos is used constantly as a device to keep Torch and Toro from flaming up. You know, they'll be an asbestos net, asbestos tarp. They'll have liquid asbestos, whatever. It's everywhere. So in this particular scenario, they're locked in an asbestos-lined box and then thrown into the ocean, water, lake, whatever it is. But when the box hit the bottom of the body of water, somehow created a crack, right? So now water starts pouring in, but Torch is saying, hey, that's okay. I'll be able to flame because not only is water coming in, but air is coming in. And I'm like, what? How's that even possible? Because it just says, like, it says it in the description, in the narration, in the description, it says that as air also seeps in through the crack, it allows Torch to flame. Like, wow, it didn't a minute ago. And I don't understand how air is seeping in when you're underwater. Where's the air coming from? Right. And then so the air comes in and he's flaming up. So there was air in the box because they're in there. So I guess he didn't want to flame up to use up all the air so that, you know, they can't survive. Fine. But I guess now that there's a constant supply of air coming in, he can flame up and still breathe. And then the water does because he flames up so much, the water turns to steam, which is what's supposed to blow up the this box, their trap in the final panel. I what? Look, I understand. You read comics, watch the movies, whatever. You have to suspend reality, and I do that. But this is just lazy. Air is getting in while the water's getting in when you're underwater. I've never actually been in, say, a car that went into a lake or anything like that. But I don't feel like air actually gets in. And in the movies and shows I've been in, they never been like, it's okay if water gets in because air is getting in too. No, that's not how that works. Anyway, and then the circular panel doesn't seem to show that the water is actually all just turning to steam. Yeah, sure, there's bubbles, and I get it that steam might be difficult to show. But look, water's coming in. It's gonna turn off as flame. There's no way. Yeah, look, it doesn't work. I don't like it. It's lazy writing. I don't like lazy writing. Okay, moving on. Master Comics number 54, Fawcett, September 1944. This cover is actually really cool. I love the frame. I mean, I know that people love the Marvel anniversary frames and all that stuff, but this is great. This is like, it's like a pinup. It's like a frame. It's fantastic. And you'll see at the bottom how it says also in this issue, Radar, the International Policeman. I had to go looking around for a copy of this cover that actually had that piece on the bottom, because most of the cover images that you'll find for this issue cut it off. And I understand why you do it, because this cover looks so much better without that, with just the frame around it and without that little bar on the bottom. It's a really neat cover. Just a simple concept. Your pinup buddy, Captain Marvel Jr. Right? It looks great. I love it. But yeah, it was actually it was difficult to find an actual representation on the cover with the piece on the bottom. So that's just for fun there. All right, so in this issue, Radar is sent to find who is trying to disrupt the relations between Russia and China by smuggling opium across the border. Oh, spoiler, it's the Japanese. Fun story though, I love Radar. It's a good character. Captain Marvel Jr. is sent all over the world when Dr. Savannah figures out how to control lightning. So every time Captain Marvel Jr. calls forth his lightning, gets zapped and taken across the planet. For this book, you have a recent CGC 9.2 sale from March of 2015, so 6 years ago, for $2,110. And there's only 8 of these on the CGC census. More Fun Comics, number 99, DC, September-October issue of 1944. This is also the first 52-page issue, down from 60. I say also just because we had another page reduction earlier on. Whatever, okay cover. Not the greatest use of the color yellow. Also, this isn't the best image of this cover. I can find what I can find. It is what it is. If it's not out there, I can't do it. All right, so the first story, which is interesting, is that the Spectre is now taking the top spot for stories in this book. Spectre babysits Percival Pop once again as he gets into trouble, makes a failed magician seem like a star, and catches some thieves. Honestly, it just, with the Spectre's powers, he's got so many better things he could be doing. It's a ridiculous story. And I don't want to spoil too much, but this line of this storyline with Percival Pop is coming to an end soon. Thank goodness, because this is it just doesn't make sense. Anyway, Green Arrow and Speedy are duped into stealing a chest full of diamonds by a crook. Aquaman investigates a volcano and discovers that a gang of thieves are making it seem active and using it as a hideout. Johnny Quick discovers a scheme to have crooks pose as mannequins to rob stores after they close. Fun scheme, why not? All right, so a few panels. I wanted to highlight a few things from this issue. And this issue just seemed fun. So, bad guys getting away by water, Green Arrow and Speed, like, oh yeah, let's strap these planks to our feet, and we'll shoot some lines from our bows and attach them to the boat so we could follow, like water skiing type thing. Look, this isn't the silliest thing that I've seen in a comic book. I have nothing against it. What I did find, what this page reminded me of is Happy Days when Fonz jumps the shark. So is this the moment where Green Arrow and Speedy jump the shark? Guess we'll have to see as the stories continue. I just thought it was fun. Oh, this is great. So Aquaman, friend to creatures in the sea, he starts throwing turtles, snapping turtles at the bad guys. I love it. So he gets all his pals. Hey, pals, come to me. He starts throwing them, and they get pinched and then weighed down by the by the turtles. Again, nothing against it. You got to suspend belief. I get that. It's just a fun story. Why not? That's a good way to beat the bad guys. I love it. All right, this is a page from Johnny Quick. Again, not the greatest scan. Again, like I'm hoping as I move through the ages and copies might be more plentiful of these books, that the scans coming in might be a little better quality. Let's hope. But anyway, look, I just wanted to highlight, this is Johnny Quick's from Johnny Quick's story. I just wanted to highlight the formula that he uses to gain his quick speed. So as soon as he utters the formula, so he just has to say the formula, and he gains his speed. So it's up there in the top right corner. It's at 3x2 or 3 times 2, 9yz 4a. That's the formula. That's the magic formula. He utters that, bam, you can zip around really quickly. Please Comics number 34. This is from September of 1944 from our good friends at Quality. I find this cover creepy. But I don't, and it I don't know why it doesn't sit well with me. Nothing wrong with the composition. Art's fine. I don't like the long fingers like that with the knuckles. It looks so weird. It's not a Jack Cole cover, so maybe I'm biased. I don't know. Anyway, Plastic Man and Woozy Winks are helpless to stop some thieves when an old woman complains to the FBI that their tactics are too rough on criminals. So another silly Plastic Man story. Fun story, though. Love Plastic Man stories. Yeah, Human Bomb and Houston Throckmorton are up against a suit of armor that can't be pierced and a lance that can pierce anything. That's quite the combination. For this book, you had a recent CGC 7.0 sale from May of 2019 for $274. There are only 7 of this book on the CGC census. One slide I want to show, thought it was fun, from the Human Bomb story. They've got a new battle cry apparently, and even Roy Lincoln, yeah, human bombs away. That's awesome. So up and away, human bombs away. That's a good time. All right, Sensation Comics number 33 from September 1944. We've got 2 Wonder Women on the cover for the price of 1. Wonder Woman is kidnapped by mistake as the kidnappers intended to capture a movie star at a costume party where there was more than one person dressed up as Wonder Woman. So you don't have cameos by other characters specifically in this issue, but people are dressed up as Batman, Superman, Flash, and Spectre in those costumes at this masquerade ball. So the costumes make an appearance, I guess, in the story, not the heroes themselves. Mr. Terrific takes down a Swami and his gang that are a front for a ring of thieves and blackmailers. Wildcat and Stretch Skinner are called to a small town where gangsters are hunting for gold, and the mayor is running some rackets. This recent CGC 4.5 sale from October of 2020 for $425. Last on the list, Star Spangled Comics number 36, DC, September 1944. Okay cover in terms of what's going on, a little bit of action. It's great. Just, if you're the artist, if anyone's watching this and they think, oh, I want to get into do some comics and make some great covers, just pick a color. Just way too many colors going on in this cover. There's no theme. You gotta pick use your color wheel and find colors that complement each other. But this is just a mess all over. So in the first story, Star Spangled Kid and Stripesy set up a fake kidnapping for Sylvester, and he really gets kidnapped by some amateur crooks. Guardian and the Newsboy Legion team up with a visiting cowboy sheriff to take down a gang trying to recover some loot from a glassware warehouse. Robot Man stops a crazed animal trainer who has tamed ancient beasts that were frozen in ice. Liberty Bell proves that robots can't replace soldiers in war. Maybe that's why Robot Man hasn't gone off to war yet. I find it interesting that the cover pertains to the second story in the issue. I feel Star Spangled Kid and Stripesy got bumped up to the first story in the issue, kind of headlining, I guess, and then the Guardian and Newsboy Legion story becomes more of a backup. But they're still the guys that they've been doing this for a few issues now, but they're still featured on the cover. I don't see anyone else on the cover. Well, that is it. I know it's been 10 books already. It's quick. Trying to make look, I try to talk about these books a little bit. I don't want to, talk about nothingness for a long time. Try to keep it simple, brief, entertaining. But yeah, I welcome the comments. I welcome suggestions. Whatever you guys want to talk about, it's great. Hey, thanks for tuning in. I do appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe all you can. Tell your friends, neighbors, family. Do this. And we're still in September 1944. And we will pick up in September 1944 again next time. Now, what happens is on these September's a quarterly, right? So you got September, December, March, June. Those are all the quarterlies where the cover dates, publication months seem to be the heaviest. So you get the quarterlies, the bi-monthlies all tend to line up around there, plus the monthlies. So the big months. So September is a big month right now. And we'll probably finish it off in the next episode. So please tune in. Thank you very much.